Hello YouTubers, this is Frederick Lopez, and today, around Easter time, we're going to be reviewing Robocop on Action Reaction from 1987, directed by Paul Verhoeven, about a man, Alex J. Murphy, who died for his sins and then was resurrected.
Bum 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 bum. Dun 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 dun.
You may know me as The Dark Knight is Still, my other YouTube channel, but my name is Frederick Lopez. You're on the Frederick Lopez channel right now, and today is going to be the start off of my review retrospective of classic action films. And to start off, we're going to have the Paul Verhoeven classic Robocop from 1987. Here is a Robocop trilogy. Started off trilogy, but we're going to be going over the Paul Verhoeven original. So Robocop stars Peter Weller as Alex J. Murphy, a police officer, new to Detroit, and Detroit's almost like a dystopian future, really, at least in 1987, for this Robocop film. And to try to clean up the place, you have OCP, Omni Consumer Products. So they're trying to develop a plan to help out the city. But you start off with Alex J. Murphy. He meets his partner, played by Nancy Allen, named Officer Ann Lewis. And they basically start off, he's a family man. You can see he's new to the police force there, just moved in, has a wife, a kid that is inspired by T.J. Laser. And the opening scene, or one of the few scenes before it goes after Clarence Bonniger, which is played by the dad from that 70s show, Mr. Kurtwood Smith. He's basically a cop killer. You have a group of cop killers going around killing police officers. And Detroit right now is pretty much like a dystopian future crime-ridden Detroit that's basically bankrupt and pretty similar to modern-day Detroit right now. And you also have on his team Ray Rise playing Leon C. Nash. You may recognize him from Reaper as the Devil. And then you have Paul McCrane as Emil Antonowski. You get to him later.
Help me.
Anyways, so they go out. You see him doing the TJ Laser thing with a gun, and it's just like, wow, he's doing that. He's basically like his kid's hero and everything. He's just like a great all-around guy, the perfect cop. He's like good, the epitome of good. And they basically have a pursuit with Clarence Bonniger after this heist, go to a warehouse, and then Lewis and Alex J. Murphy get separated. Lewis gets knocked out by one of the guys, and then he pretty much goes there and basically holds up Emil. And then the other two get there. Clarence Bonniger gets there, and it's probably the most saddest, most brutal death scene I've seen in a film to date. Like, seriously, man, it is just horrific. And he has the most gruesome, agonizing death. Just gets shot in the legs, gets his arm blown off with a shotgun, then he's on the ground, and then with another shotgun they blow his hand off, and then after all that he's still getting up, and then he just gets shot in the head. And Miguel Ferrer plays Bob Morton at OCP Communications, and he has this plan for a Robocop program. And that kind of makes Dick Jones kind of mad, because he was a vice president, he wants to be president of OCP, wants to have the main plan with his Ed 209 program. And he's played by Ronnie Cox, who you may have seen in Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. And that doesn't suit well. But anyways, for the Robocop program, you have to have a live candidate, or a candidate that's like on the verge of dying, for them to basically use their body. Or basically, you need a dead person. You need a dead person. You need a body to use. It doesn't matter if it's alive, dead, what. They just need a body to use to make into Robocop. So Alex J. Murphy signed up to have his body. Since OCP owns the cops, he's rushed to the hospital. He dies. And then they get him and resurrect him as Robocop. And they resurrect him as Robocop, and you see it through a perspective of his first-person view in the hospital, him die and then be brought back, and you see computer graphs, and it's just like a computer. You get to see how many months pass by, New Year's and everything, and them basically modifying him. So then he goes out as Robocop, and he's Robocop, part man, part machine, all cop now. And he starts to have memories and kind of is haunted by his past. He doesn't know who he is. He has prime directives. First being, serve the public trust. 2, protect the innocent. 3, uphold the law. And then a classified fourth one, which I would get to at the end of this review. He has prime directives. He's just a machine. OCP owns him. He basically goes out and fights crime. So he's pretty much like getting all the criminals and fighting crime and saving Detroit by one save at a time and everything. And it's really cool how they bring him out. Anyways, Ann Lewis kind of figures out who he is. He's like, Murphy, it's me. And he's just like kind of baffled. He's like Robocop, but he keeps on having these glimpses of Alex J. Murphy's life. So he starts to like wonder if he's this person. And you have a Ghost in the Machine story that's really, really, really deep and compelling, I would say, especially for an action film. And that's one thing I love about these older action films is that they weren't just action. It wasn't just like now it's one-liners, now it's action. Yeah, it's action, but this has a story, and this is a great film. Yeah, not only is it a great action film, it's a great science fiction film and a great film. Anyways, my point is he finds Emil later, one of Bonniger's men, upholding a gas station. And he's like, dead or alive, you're coming with me, which is what he said to him earlier in the movie. And the guy's just like, hey, I know you. We killed you. You're dead. I know you. He starts replaying that over and over. Long story short, he arrests him, put him in jail, and he starts to like replay that. And he recognizes his face from a memory, and he starts having a flashbacks of them killing him. So he goes over to this computer, has like this little like nail Wolverine thing, just like plug, goes into the computer. And he realizes, he sees, and it's like Alex J. Murphy, deceased. And then it gets who killed him, and it's Clarence Bonniger, and like all these charges for his men and rap sheets. And he starts to get him. And it gets kind of sad. He starts going back to Alex J. Murphy's house. And he's having flashbacks of his wife and kid. Goes there, it's all empty, stuff's just left over, and then you see a burnt photograph. And it's his wife and then son during Halloween. He starts having flashbacks. And from that moment, it's very compelling. And I have to say, one thing I do have to say, let me get his name real quick. Basil Polidoris. I hope I pronounced that right. The composer of this film did a great job. It was really sad that da na 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 na, and then it's just like the wife, and then everything disappears. And then Peter Weller's performance. Let me get to Peter Weller's performance real quick. He is a great actor. And what made this compelling and what made you buy into this is that he was two separate people. He was Alex J. Murphy. You got him. He was an average guy. Regular Joe. You got him. Robocop. Another different person entirely. There's still a bit of Alex J. Murphy in there, but like he was mostly the machine. And what did it, you could have got just any regular old bloke and he could have been in it, but it would have been like the Tin Man. Like he brought life to it. He is Robocop. Peter Weller is Robocop. I mean, the movements, he has like the head and then just like the movements and then and part of it was a suit being kind of heavy. And there's some parts in this where you can see the limitations of the suits, particularly the gas station scene with Emil. And when it like blows up, you see like the suit get kind of big. And then there's some stop motion animation that's great. But like later on, there's this part with Dick Jones, and you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. If not, if you do see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It has not aged well. I remember like when I was little, I was like, it passed, and then you watch it now, and you're just like, damn, that did not age well. It's like really bad claymation, like it's just like a raisin falling down. Anyways, that's just one minor thing, and it's not even a big thing. I mean, that's not going to detract you from the wonderful story that's in this film. And he just did a great job, Peter Weller. Like, he actually became the characters. And then after that, from that point on, when he, like, just gets pissed off, he starts going after Bonniger and his men, and it becomes a revenge story. Meanwhile, Dick Jones is mad at Robocop's creator, Bob Morton, who was played by Miguel Ferrer. He basically gets Bonniger to kill him. And later on, Robocop basically gets Bonniger, confesses that, so he has that evidence. So he put Bonniger down, everybody down, and you realize that Bonniger's working with Dick Jones, and Dick Jones wants to be president to basically have, like, after the Delta City Project, which are having to clean up the neighborhoods, he wants to basically own New Detroit. And that's what Omni Consumer Products is planning, or at least Dick Jones is at OCP. And after that, you basically have Robocop. After that, Lewis finds out who he is. Robocop basically goes to OCP to confront Dick Jones about like Bob Morton's death and everything. And he's about to arrest him, but he can't because the Directive 4 that was classified turns out he cannot harm or arrest OCP employees. So he can't arrest Dick Jones, so he like fights Ed 209. That is a brilliant use of stop motion animation, and then that fight with Ed 209 and Robocop. No CGI whatsoever. It looks a little bit dated, sure. It looks a little bit fake, yeah, but so does most other movies. They look fake, you know it's fake, but that still doesn't take it away from you. It still looks pretty damn cool. It's still pretty impressive for the time, especially for the time, 1987. I mean, it's not that bad. It's funny when he falls down. Anyways, he goes down, the police turn against him. His partner, Ann Lewis, saves him. And I have to give credit to the suit again. There's this part where they unmask him, and it almost looks like he just had his face ripped off and put on a machine. Like, the makeup was great. And I don't mean to compare them because they're two totally different movies. You can't compare them, but I'm going to be quite frank. That new Robocop 2014 was a piece of steaming pile of shit. Like, it was just horrible, and he looked like he was wearing a rubber suit. It wasn't metal. Like this one, you could just see the makeup. It had his face and like the little... You'll see it. I'll show you a photo.
Dun 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 dun. I'd buy that for $1.
That is just phenomenal. It looks like he looks like a machine. He's part machine, part man, all cop, like I said. And that's great. And then Clarence Bonniger, then they have a showdown. Basic revenge thing. Then goes after Dick Jones. Pretty much saves the day. Gets Dick Jones, gets Bonniger, has his revenge. And it's great. And he basically becomes Murphy again. Like, even the main OCP president guy is just like, what's your name, son? And he's just like, Murphy. And that's where it ends, before having the title logo Robocop. So it shows him gain a little bit of his humanity back through this like Ghost in the Machine type of story. And I love that. I mean, that was just great. And that's one thing that bothered me, again, about the new one, is that a car bomb happened. He got a little bit burnt, but nothing much. This one, like, he just had the most horrific death where you see why he's in the suit. Like, that, yeah. I mean, he died. He basically died. And the new one, don't get me started. The new one... And then I didn't like his performance. The new one, it was like the same guy as Alex Murphy and Robocop in the new one. The new one's just like, yo, I'm Robocop. It's like trying to sound like, at least from the streets or like from Channing Tatum. I don't know. It doesn't sound good. Peter Weller did a great job as a voice. And then it's like, dead or alive, you're coming with me, or like, your move, creep. Great job in the music. The editing was great. Paul Verhoeven, you get a sense of his style here, is very, very gritty and violent. And you also have comedic timing. Like, they have satire where it's like Battleship, but it's Nukem. And then you also have like a fast car, so it's like the 1000 SUX basically sucks, gets shitty gas mileage, as it was mentioned by a guy who lost an election earlier in the film. And you get that sense of comedic timing that's just so great in the film, where it's not like a self-parody of itself, or like cutesy and some like one-liner stuff like you get now, and especially like some of the Marvel movies with like the one-liners and just trying to be like to the point where it's like, are you serious or funny, to the point of being a comedy of itself. And this one still can be gritty, serious, violent, balls out violence while still having fun. You know what I mean? Where it's not going to be like flat out comedy, slapstick, just like a complete joke. It can be more of a satire, funny, while still in the world. And you really get to see a sense of Paul Verhoeven's directing style you see later on in his films like Starship Troopers, and then most of all in Total Recall from 1990 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I would recommend Robocop. I give it a 10 out of 10, a 5 out of 5, an A+, and I know other critics and other people could probably go a little more in depth in this and really grade it harshly, but for an action film from the 80s, it is perfect. And it's a great science fiction film, action film, like I said earlier. It is terrific. And the only film that reminded me of the original Robocop in recent years had to be Dredd with Carl Urban. And it's weird because this movie was originally going to be a Judge Dredd movie, and then it kind of got modified, and then like the script eventually became Robocop. So it's almost similar to what happened with Devil May Cry from Resident Evil. So that's very interesting. how it was originally going to be Dread. You can kind of see that there, Detroit and stuff. But I would highly recommend this. If you have not seen it yet, see it now. Especially if you saw the 2014 Robocop. Or maybe you want to get a bad taste in your mouth or get over it. See the original. You can't compare them, but there's only one Robocop, and the new one missed the point entirely of what made this original film so great. So, your move, creep. See Robocop if you haven't already. Purchase it. Watch it. Get a bag of popcorn. Order a pizza. Get some sodas. Turn off the lights in the living room. Crank up the stereo and watch Robocop. And if you don't, then just crank the volume up to 35 or at least 53. Maybe not 53, some TVs can be kind of crazy. 35, crank the volume to 35 and watch Robocop. Directed by Paul Verhoeven. That pretty much does it on my review for Robocop here on Action Reaction. And next episode, we will be going over the 1984 Terminator. So if you like this, check out that. And if you like this video, go check out my channel here with my other short films. And if you think those are good, go check out my other channel, my first YouTube channel, The Dark Knight is Still, and check out a whole bunch of awesome music tributes, okay? Next time, we're going over Terminator 1984. Have a great day, guys.